Oh, what's up everyone, we are back again with my unpopular opinions. Today I'm going to be talking about the band that has been around since 1967 and it's called Chicago. They have been produced 24 albums so far and this band was known as the legendary rock and roll band with horns and classical guitars because the lead man group was backed with a strong brass instrument section. As a fan of early Chicago, I would say they are one of the greatest rock bands and their music sounds great, especially with their debut album called Chicago Transit Authority. Okay, that is an example of the song from the album. This debut album probably the best album from the band. Everything on the first disc is incredible and this double album featured great songwriting from every member of the band. Then they released their second album called Chicago.
Waiting for the break of day, searching for something to say.
Well, this album was made in 1970, and Chicago album contains the iconic jazz/rock song called 25 or 624. It is a good song but I never did understand those lyrics. But there are a lot of unsubstantiated rumors regarding the meaning behind this song's lyrics. According to Songfacts, it's about trying to write a song, with the title referring to the time of day. Chicago album is one of most original, and most accomplished jazz rock groups in existence. The next albums, Chicago 3 and 5, both are great albums. Terry Kath, Peter Cetera and Robert Lem did awesome vocals for these two albums and the Saturday Night Park is my favorite classic jazz song from them. Okay, then they released another self-titled album called Chicago 7th. The album did not have the big sales or airplay as the singles from Chicago's first 4 albums. And next is Chicago 8. The band were trying to recapture the layered complexity of 6th, but almost totally burned out. Chicago ended up all over the map. The best of this project includes Terry Kath So, Thank You Great Spirit, a tribute to Jimi Hendrix, and James Pankow's Top 5 Hip Old Days. But Robert Lem's Harry Truman couldn't get into the top 10. The next album is Chicago number 10. Well, Chicago 10 is the 8th studio album with their first ballad hit song, If You Leave Me Now.
If you leave me now, you'll take away the biggest part of me. Ooh, no, baby, please don't.
The next album is Chicago 11, and this album marked the end of era of the best guitarist in the band Terry Kath, who stupidly shot himself with a gun, while Chicago split with early producer James William Guercio. But even before all this, Chicago already sounded like a band on the verge of breaking up from Peter Cetera's hit retread ballad. Baby, what a big surprise.
Right before my very eyes. Oh, 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 oh. Yesterday it seemed to be.
After Kath's death, the band didn't take any hiatus. Robert Lem and the rest of the members promised to keep the band alive and eventually they chose Peter Cetera as the leading member and turned the band to completely sold out. Chicago survived in later years and they changed the band sound to be more ballad, vowing to carry on. The remaining members convened in the studio to record what became their 10th original album, Hot Streets, the first album without Terry Kath, and somewhat they managed to add some disco elements and trying to remove horns to be less effective. In the following year, they launched an album called Chicago 13 without any single, but sadly this probably the lamest album throughout their career and treated the fans like complete idiot. The 12th studio album contains some good songs like Birthday Boy, Upon Arrival, Overnight Cafe and Song For You. Basically this is a full of Cetera but the album is still fucking bad. They continued to have hits throughout the 80s including Hard to Say I'm Sorry, Love Me Tomorrow and Waiting For You to Decide from Chicago 16. Their highest-selling album Chicago 17, released back in 1984, contains many great soft rock songs like Hard Habit to Break, Stay the Night and their biggest hit song You're the Inspiration.
You're the meaning of my life. You're the inspiration. You bring feeling
You're the Inspiration is a song written Beat One collaboration Peter Cetera and David Foster. The song is heard in a 2017 commercial for the NFL that aired during halftime of Super Bowl during halftime show. When Peter Cetera left the band to focus on solo project, Jason Smith takes the role. With only 3 original members left, has never attained the musical genius and energy after his leaving. Chicago hit the nail in the coffin when they continued to make a music that had gotten stale. The only exception the song Will You Still Love Me from Chicago 18. For the fuck's sake, they did remake of 25 or 624 song to become more commercial and listenable. From 89 on, 90% of releases were live, holiday, or greatest hits. And the songwriting became a corporation of writers rather than core Chicago. After so many years, they managed to release their latest album called Chicago 36. The album reminds me from the past 50 years of music. And finally, in February 2016, Chicago inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but sadly Peter Cetera refused to play with the bandmates, thus ending the relationship between him and the band. So that's my review about the band Chicago. I hope you enjoy the content and don't forget to hit subscribe for more music critics and reviews.